There's a lot that can be said about the offerings that the N64 provided in the world of fighting games. Or maybe not, because there's not a lot of them to begin with. And if some of you were to narrow it down further, very few games are actually good. So if the question about the best fighter game on the console will come up, most move brands will probably default to the original Super Smash Bros. And that's fine, it's one of the most popular fighting games on the console. And some will say it's not a fighting game, but it doesn't matter in the long run. But fine, let's remove it from play and change up the question a bit. So, what is the best traditional fighting game on the console? If I were to hazard a guess, it would be between Killer Instinct Gold, Mortal Kombat 4, or WWF No Mercy. Or you can slide in any of those other great Aki Engine wrestling games, and that's even if you count wrestling games as fighting games. We do. Well, whatever your answer is, I doubt today's game even crossed your mind unless you're incredibly base. A game we think should hold the title of the best N64 fighting game, at least for now. This is Team Crossbody. This is Fighter Destiny's Runback. Known outside the US as Fighting Cup, and supposedly to go under the name Struggle Hard, which makes sense because this game is all about manhood, Fighter's Destiny was co-developed by Genki, a company that was founded in 1999 by two former Sega employees, Hiroshi Yakagami and Tomoto Komura. Opus Studio, a company that was founded in 1990 as well, best known for their music production and sound design, and Anchor Incorporated, which opened its doors in 1996, founded by brothers Masahiro and Kinochi Onoguchi. A whole lot of non-American names in this one, Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, these two are special for working on various 3D fighters such as Tekken, Soul Edge, and Fighting Vipers as motion designers, and their company specializes in mocapping for fighting games and realistic wrestling games, with two of them being those strange Xbox exclusive WWF Raw games that popped up in the early 2000s. As for Fighter's Destiny itself, it was released in 1998 in North America and reviewed mid to positively. Critics praising the game for being the first genuine fighting game for the Nintendo 64, and the game's unique point system making it a standout, while bashing its subpar graphics, equally lackluster character designs, and strangely, only having 2 attack buttons. The game was followed up by 2000's Fighter's Destiny 2. In between those two games, a spiritual successor was made only for arcades in 1999 by the name of Toy Fighter. I didn't know going in how much Fighter's Destiny had in common with wrestling games, which would totally explain the feel of the game. Or that could really be the game's dog shit frame rate. We'll decide that when we get to the gameplay section. For now, let's get into presentation. Once in the lifetime of every man, they are challenged. With no explanation or warning, they must be willing to defend it at a moment's notice, unless they run the risk of losing it forever. When this time arises, the cube of manhood will beckon, drawing opponents to one of its many, but sealed off in hidden locations. Only those who have entered this cube must prove their manhood to be aware of its existence. Women, with the ability to channel this hidden energy of manhood, must prove themselves on this dangerous cube. For manhood for them comes at a time of high responsibility or great challenge. It isn't clear what truly happens to the victors and the defeated. Only the cube knows. And maybe that's best for the world. This literally took me like 3 to 5 minutes to come out with. And yeah, it's stupid, but it took a hell of a lot more effort than the guys who made the game did. It's like, they called the game Fighting Club in Japan and was like, yeah, tournament. That'll explain it. Sure, I guess. But it's called Fighter Destiny over here. So where's my fucking Destiny? I mean, there's some stuff going on. Like how Valerie being the secret child of the organizer of the tournament, and she wants to prove that she could be a legitimate successor, or Abdul wanting to buy his fucking cow back. Who the hell is getting attached to these stories? I'll say it once, and I'll say it again. Story matters in fighting games. I'm not saying it has to be complex, but having a story can help ground the world for your characters and can sometimes assist with character designs, something Fighters Destiny has a massive problem with. I'm convinced they just looked at Virtua Fighter's roster and someone said, just copy that. Then some smart guy countered, we'll get caught. And then some guy said, quickly, we'll just copy some weirdos from 1990s Google. So now we have knockoff characters with a bunch of weirdos around them. We have Ryu, of course based off crappy Street Fighter 1. We have Mohiro from Breakers. He's just Wolf Hawkfield. She's Pi. He's Kage. They just named him Ninja. Hi Ivy or Christy, I couldn't decide. This is Jeffrey. Or TJ Combo, name a black guy. Well, I'm not sure, but I'm watching you. And Clown. The graphics themselves are similar to Virtua Fighter 2. They are actually a lot simpler and fuzzier due to the Nintendo 64's hardware, and while I wouldn't call the game good looking, it isn't crazy ugly either. Same with the stages. While very bland, I wouldn't call anything I saw here particularly puke-inducing or anything. You gotta remember, this was 1998, and people had to know that N64 was a bit touched in the head when it came to graphics in most cases. Besides, how else were you going to do these stages? They had to stand on a cube, which obviously changes from map to map, which is a nice touch. This might be a really hot take here, but I feel like the music in Fighters Destiny is very good, and it's the only thing keeping the spiceless presentation of the game from being complete ass. Very designed behind the nationalities of each roster member, other than being about the characters themselves, except Bob. He's from Brazil, but it stays as a desert, so that might be more of a character-based choice since he's a former military soldier. It feels very much like Street Fighter 2 in this regard, and it could have made some excellent material for remixing if the series took off. So yeah, they're a little generic in nature, but it's a solid jumping off point for the first entry.
Keep going! Keep going! Come on! Wow!
Heyo, the final boost here. Just dropping by to tell you that if you're enjoying the video, feel free to like and comment. And if you're new and are interested in what else Team Crossbody does, I would like a moment to promote our backlog. There might be something else you might enjoy in there too. For those who might also have a Rumble account, TCB is also there as well, so give us a visit if you can. And while you're still on Rumble, why not drop by and give our exclusive channel a try, called Saturday Morning Rewind, where we take a look at various TV shows and movies and try to be funny in an attempt to garner your admiration. All these things can be found in the About section of our channel page and also in the description box below you. Thank you. The main single-player hook to Fighters Destiny is playing through its various game modes to unlock characters and additional moves for each of its fighters. Each roster member has 10 skills they can unlock, but skills are not unlocked by single means. Let me explain. Clearing vs. Combo gives your character 1 skill. 8 more skills can be earned through Master Challenge along with unlocking the Master himself. 1 more skill can be earned by beating another player in the win or lose versus mode. Although I'd love to unlock these extra moves, as I'm sure to help round out each of these characters' movesets, it's a bit of a grind, and we will use that time better learning the game. So playing the weaker and or gimped version of the cast will have to do. Let's get into the game modes available. Versus Com is the game's arcade ladder mode. Fight through 10 stages with the final boss Burrow being unlockable once completing it. Versus Battle is the standard 2-player versus mode that includes an extra game mode in win or lose, when players play a match while betting each other's extra moves, with the winner gaining 1 and the loser having 1 removed. As said before, while unlocking moves isn't hard, it's time consuming, so we obviously didn't play this mode. Record Attack includes several modes of play. Survival, fight in 101 point matches, fastest, win the first of 4 matches while making sure to earn points as fast as possible, under 1 minute to be exact, and Rodeo, an endurance match against the fighting cow, Usher. Master Challenge. This mode will have you challenge only 2 opponents, the Master and Joker, which are chosen randomly. Defeating the Master will earn you a skill, but losing to the Joker will take away any skills earned up to that point, which I guess makes this a little bit of a roguelike. The Master increases in difficulty the further you get, which makes sense, but the Joker is an asshole the first time you encounter him and never stops being an asshole. It isn't too bad. You're free to bail out with the skills you manage to gain, but I don't know, this mode is way too stressful for me. Training is exactly what it means. Although this mode is fairly robust for a 1998 fighting game, featuring frame data for each of its fighters, and having the ability to put the dummy into several states, such as counter hit, to practice things like juggle combos. Before getting into the mechanics, I guess it'd be appropriate to explain the most well-known aspect of the game, and that's the point system. Winning in Fighter's Destiny is calculated on a point-based system when performing certain actions on an opponent will yield a certain amount of points earned, with the goal of the match is earning 7 stars while making the opponent touch the ground with the following actions. These will earn 2 points and is decided by a throw that is not escaped. Locks that KO, landing a parry, or throwing an opponent that is on the ledge will be considered a throwdown. When the strike glows blue, this will have a special effect that will knock the opponent down regardless of their remaining health. These can come in single attacks or at the end of strings, and you will earn up to 3 points if connected. When out of stamina and trying to recover, a character can enter a special state called Priority. During this time, the attacking character can do a devastating special attack to the opponent that will net them 4 points. The opponent can still avoid these attacks, however. Not to be confused with counter hits, counters are unique attacks that are usually severely unsafe on block that will win and knock down the opponent if they land on the same frame as an attack's active frames. Landing one will earn 3 points. By default, the game is set to 30 seconds, and this is essentially a timeout. During this time, the game will tally each player on hit accuracy, attacks thrown, damage dealt, and among other things. The player with the higher tally will win the round. This will earn 1 point. This can be very easy or hard depending on the size of the ring. Players just don't fall out of the ring, but in most cases will grab onto the ledge. Attacking them or having them wait too long will have them fall out of the ring. This is the closest the game has to a knockdown state, with the player near the edge being this game version of Uki. This will earn 1 point. The cool part about these rules is that they can be customized, including the size of the ring. So if the player wanted to put a focus on a particular part of the gameplay as possible, want the game to be more about ring outs, then set the ring out at a higher value and make the ring smaller, or make the ring larger and reduce the points you earn from ring outs if you don't like that aspect. This gives them a lot more wiggle room on how you want to approach the game. Fighter's Destiny has a fair amount of things going for it mechanically for such a simple looking game, but the controls are easy as it can get with only being 4, with 2 attacking buttons, a block button, and a dedicated movement and dodge button, which should be the first thing we go over because it's so important. Hitari or Harai, I leave the pronunciation to you, will dodge any high and low attack while held automatically, which will allow punishment for overly committed strings and more powerful attacks more easily. Hitari loses to mid attacks and cannot escape throws, so the opponent who realizes a player who is overly reliant on this move can easily check them, which could result to a loss of a round. Holding the button while pressing up and down will allow for sidestepping or side hopping. They're pretty slow even for faster characters, and attacks tend to have striking properties, so the sidestepping is mostly for rank positioning and nothing more. Another huge part of this game is locks and throws. Both be guard and Hatari, and unlike most fighting games, they cannot be ducked. Throws can be broken by holding A and B. Different throws have different timings, which can be seen through the on-screen timer. Some throws even have reversal opportunities. By pressing 2AB while breaking, You could reverse a throw and throw your opponent instead. However, they have less time now to break yours. Locks are similar to throws, but would have to be mashed or be broken. Once again, these have different lengths that require more or less mashing. The aggressor can also mash to extend the length of these as well. While most throws don't have to be broken on reaction, by simply holding A and B preemptively will cause them to be broken at the first available frame. This is called LTE, or lazy throw escape. Yeah, it's pretty overpowered and annoying, but it does have some counterplay. Using LTE to auto-break a throw, the player throwing will not have to worry about reversals as it is not possible with this type of attack. Also, some throws ignore this entirely. Because LTE pretty much rejects the idea of normal throwdowns are neutral, it means a character with locks, especially frontal locks, becomes far more viable, as they have to be mashed in order to be escaped, which means characters who don't have strong frontal locks have a hard time opening players who want to exploit LTE. The overall feel of the game is very similar to that of early Virtua Fighter attacking, except mid-hits can be ducked and can only hit dodging opponents freely. Also, several attacks of this game are usually color-coded in some way. Blue streaks indicate a counter-strike. Blue or white glows mean the attack has a knockdown property. Guarding against these attacks will cause a railing effect, which we'll get into in a bit. These essentially turn your attack into a guard break, granting massive frame advantage. Orange streaks mean the attacks will launch on counter hit. Red indicates the attack will launch on normal hit. Real attacks are special attacks that cause lengthened amount of stun animation, which can be often followed up by linking quick attacks after it. During the real attack animation, the player performing the attack will be considered in the counter hit state by any attack, so they shouldn't be thrown out carelessly because they do carry a good amount of startup. Mental attacks are gimmick moves that serve as taunts that are meant to cause your rumble pack to vibrate wildly. What are rumble packs?
Figured it.
Lastly, I would like to cover the game's health system. Much like other fighting games, characters have different health values, which can be seen literally just by looking at them. After taking damage, characters can regain health slowly over time, or by holding the A+B button in neutral, they're able to recover it faster, with different characters recovering at varying speeds. When all health is drained, the character will turn purple and stars will appear over their heads, which signifies that they're in a special dizzy status called priority. During this status, you cannot make any kind of offensive actions, but you're still able to make evasive ones. Throws on locks are guaranteed, and you know become vulnerable to special attacks, which are the most points to be earned at once by default. Mashing the A and B buttons quickly will help you recover health to leave priority faster, but obviously, if it's a character with a higher health value, it'll take longer to recover. Managing to leave the state without taking a hit will have you recover, but with your maximum health reduced by a bit. We might have missed a couple of the more hidden mechanics the game has to offer, but this game is completely unexplored to my knowledge, so it's to be expected. What we did explain here should give you a general understanding of how the game works, however. Overall, Fighter's Destiny is a very strange game to play. It's very slow and stiff. Either that's from just having faster games in our muscle memory, or some combination of it having the player choose between 2D to 3D movement, or playing the game at about 30 frames on the N64. I'm not sure. But it was nice playing a fighting game that didn't require us to learn long command lists or remembering complex pressure or Oki sequences. At its core, the game is just about methodical spacing on movement and attacks, which can be fairly intense in its own right, and very satisfying to earn a round off a well-planned and spaced attack. It's really unfortunate that Fighter's Destiny didn't take off. On the surface, it could come off as just another game trying to ape off a massively successful one in the form of Virtua Fighter, but you would only need to play it to see how unique it really is. Sure, that mostly extends to just the point system entirely, because I'm positive no one's talking about the throw system when remembering the game. But just taking that into account can change how the entire genre is looked at. I would have loved to see this concept expanded on just a little more. Well, for what it's worth, Fighter's Destiny is a well thought out fighting game, and it might be the best N64 design one as well. I think this game should earn the title of Best N64 Fighting Game over Smash. And no, not because Smash isn't a fighting game, or at least not traditionally. But how could this game ever compete with Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon? Especially with those designs. But I am interested. What is the best N64 fighting game? I think TCB is going to have to figure that one out. See you next time on The Runback.